All right, I would like to call to order the City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee. Have we actually, okay, I'd like to call to order this City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Thomas?
Here.
Alder Wood?
Alderwood is ill.
Oh, okay. Mayor O'Connor?
Here. Kate, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the January 3rd meeting?
So move.
I will second. Do you have any corrections or additions, Kathy?
Nope.
I don't either. Nice job, Aline. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. There are no appearances. There is no unfinished business. Moving to new business, item 6A, consideration of resolution 22-1-2535, approval of participation in a Wisconsin Bureau of Transportation safety grant. This relates to the 2022 capital area OWI task force. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Now second. Chief?
Thank you. The police department is asking for authorization to receive an upwards of $10,000 that was allocated for the police department as part of the multi-agency traffic grant working the high-vis areas, which means the Beltline, Monona Drive, Broadway in particular. And we will be focusing on OWI enforcement for this as well as hazardous driving behavior.
Questions, Alder Thomas?
Oh.
I assume this is the same or similar to the grants we've gotten the last several years?
Yes, as is the next item on business.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we budget for those too, so there's no budget on them the same.
Okay. Okay, well then all in favor of item 6A, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. 6B, consideration of resolution 21-1-2536, approval of participation in a Wisconsin Bureau of Transportation safety grant, the 2022 Dane Suburban Seatbelt Task Force. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
And I will second. Chief?
This is very much the same. I will highlight that although the focus is seatbelt enforcement, I have still given orders to my staff that they will focus on hazardous driving behaviors as a primary reason of stop and address any non-compliance with seatbelts as a secondary.
Okay, because I know there's going to be some concern from the council about this, I know. Kathy, did you have any?
No, the chief and I talked about it, and we want the streets to be safe, and, hazardous driving is not a good idea.
Good, I agree. Is Mark, in terms of this being in the budget, I was looking through some notes from last year, and I think that the amount we got last year was $14,000. Did we? I'm just wondering, curious, what we put in the budget for this.
So we budget for $40,000 worth of grant revenues and about $50,000
Oh, okay.
for the expenditure side.
So then we'll just see what we get.
We don't do one individual. It's kind of a big number for it.
And we also participate in the speed grant as well.
Okay, all right. So just something to keep an eye on going forward. What our other grants amount total up to, I guess. Then, right? So if there aren't any other questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 6C, consideration of resolution 22-1-2537, authorizing the issue.
Can we move this? Jeff is trying to get in. I think he's having trouble. Can we skip this one?
We'll move on to 6D then. Consideration of ordinance 1-22-747, updating the fees, fines, and penalties schedule. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
I will second. Brian, did you want to address this one?
Yeah, this is our annual resolution that we put together every year with updates to various department line items. We've kind of highlighted in a red line the changes that have been incorporated for this year, and also in your packet there's at least from the planning department, a summary of the planning department changes that City Planner Plowman is proposing. I don't know if Leah had any other highlights in terms of items of note in the changes.
Yeah, the only two areas of change are planner plowman's two requested changes, and then lots of fees in the Park and Rec department that were changed. They were budgeted for and budgeted as being changed for the 2022 budget and approved by the park board.
Okay. Any questions, Kathy?
No,
Okay, I don't have any either. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye, motion passes. Is Jeff on? Is that his phone number?
I
Okay.
am, Mayor, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Next item 6C, consideration of resolution 22-1-2537, authorizing the issuance and sale of $11,185 in taxable tax increment revenue bonds. This relates to TID number 9, Series 2022A. That's the correct number, right, Mark?
11,180,000. Yes, I believe it.
11,180,000. Okay.
move approval.
Could be 185. I got to check the resolution. So
I might have remembered that wrong.
it's 11,180,000. Yes, Mayor, I apologize. 11,180,000.
Okay. I will second that. Kathy, did you, I guess, Jeff, did you want to do an explanation?
Well, certainly a little bit, if you don't mind. I appreciate it, Mayor and members of the Finance Committee. Thank you so much. Mark and I have worked diligently on this for quite a while. Some time ago, of course, when you undertook the project to do TID 9, selecting the developer, et cetera, we knew that would be a series of phased financings that would be short-term until we got the required development to support all of the debt. We're at that position now. We also knew that in conjunction with the council's deliberation and consideration of a future campus project for what may be police, fire, city hall, that we wanted to safeguard some general obligation capacity in order to allow the council to determine whether or not, if and when they wanted to do that. With that, Mark and I set out to issue what are called TID revenue bonds, of which you have probably one of the only issues I've ever seen in the state of Wisconsin. They should have been issued many years ago. My name happens to be on a Supreme Court case test the state of Wisconsin with a client of mine, City of Hartford, to challenge what was then the allowance in the statute to issue revenue bonds that would not count against the issuer's 5% capacity. Long story short, Supreme Court decided that we were wrong, that even TID revenue bonds would count if there was more than an annual appropriations. That being said, we're issuing a different animal here for the city. This is something that you've never seen. It's something that even Quarles said to me they had difficulty finding an official statement to kind of mirror to get the disclosure documents put together. So my point is we spent some time getting to this particular point, and I'm very happy to be able to bring you these rates tonight. We had some big funds that were interested, some insurance funds, etc. We've been trying to sell this over a period of a week now. I got indication today that we had enough buyers for an underwriting. So tonight we have to offer to finance and to council 20-year revenue bonds, which are solely paid for by the TIF increments out of TIF number 9. They will be removed from our GO side of things, and they will be placed on revenue bonds. And we have 2 term bonds, basically, which doesn't mean a lot to us as payers. We're going to pay for them on an annual basis as though they were one payment each year of principal and 2 payments of interest. But all that being said, this looks nothing like your normal general obligation debt or even your utility revenue bonds, water and sewer and storm sewer. So we have an issue for you tonight, which has total all-in cost for the 20-year debt of a 4.95%. Remember, these are taxable. Also remember, they're not your GOs, and they do not garner your fine AA+ rating. So this is purely an offer to buyers for the value in that TIF district and the revenues that are being generated from the development within TID number 9. That makes sense to everyone? That was a lot to digest.
Yes.
but basically here we are. I think Mark's done a good job in keeping everybody up to speed. Certainly the council's been good to give us direction as to this is where we wanted to go with this particular issue. I think you'll also note that it's been a difficult market recently. Inflation's at a 19-year high, and the treasury market's getting beat up every single day. So it starts in the morning, doesn't normally end up in the afternoon. So give you some kind of comparison. You haven't seen rates this high for your debt in the last number of years because we've issued, obviously, very high-rated debt, something different than this. But way back when we did Garden Circle, we actually had rates of around 6.5% for our taxable debt, and that was general obligation taxable debt. So as though 4.95 may sound like it's quite high, it's still a relatively good rate for 20-year taxable debt with the sole pledge of revenues from a single TIF district.
Okay. Any questions, Kathy?
Well, I guess my simple question is, if someone says to me, why did you take this route? What do I say to them?
Well, thank you, Kathy. That's a great question. We took this route primarily because we wanted to safeguard part of our general obligation capacity for future projects. And that's really the reason. We could have issued them general obligation, taxable, would have got a little bit lower interest costs, no question, Kathy. But the real reason was we did not want them to fit into our general obligation scheme of things. This council and past councils have been very good about keeping up to speed and up to date on our annual CIPs. So you're doing capital projects, which we know we have to issue geodebt for. And then we also wanted to safeguard additional capacity, 12 million roughly, to safeguard that for our future projects in consideration for facilities that you've been studying and undertaking.
Is that all a fancy way of saying we can borrow more money?
It is a fancy way, Kathy, of saying that you can borrow more money with a general obligation pledge, which is your highest credit pledge, which will give you your lowest interest cost.
Okay. I think likely we may have to defend that. It's defensible, but I do think we will have to defend it.
It's very possible when you look at that next project and the next large project that you're doing, Kathy. But again, Mark and I, and from the direction we got from council, was primarily to say, hey, if we want to issue more debt and it's a big project, we want to be able to get the best interest rate that we can in the future. So that's why we took this route.
I think there's no question that I, along with the rest of the current council, support a future major capital project, and that we have to have the ability to borrow to do it. I mean, it's
correct. And that's what this puts us there.
This is paid for increment from TID 9 also.
Well, yeah, I'm not, yeah.
No, but I mean, just when you're talking to people.
Yep.
You know, I guess my question would be, given that this is so unusual and you've never seen it in the state of Wisconsin before, are we sure that this is safe?
Oh, yeah, it makes all, way back in 1986, I brought a test case with Mike's client, City of Hartford, Mayor Dean Curley, Quarles and Brady, and local corporation or council for the city. Our intent was to get the Supreme Court to give an opinion because bond counsel, Quarles and Brady, Fuller and no one would issue an opinion that even though the statute said we could issue revenue bonds from TID incremental revenues, it didn't determine whether or not those revenue bonds would count against our 5% capacity. And so we needed to have that answered. And so, we got together and contrived that court case, brought it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin opined that, yeah, well, you can issue TID revenue bonds, but because of this particular language that says it's annually appropriated throughout the life of the debt, it mirrors and is in fact general obligation debt and will apply against your 5% capacity. So after that, Mayor, no one issued because you might as well issue geodebt. correct? I mean, if it's gonna count against your 5% capacity, you might as well do it. Through that time, we got bond counsel to look at things to say, well, if we say that the city shall appropriate funds on an annual basis from TID 9 revenues to pay this debt, they'll be revenue bonds and they will not count against your capacity. And everybody was happy with that. But it makes it a little less secure than if the language said the city will appropriate. Because then the buyer says, oh, you follow me? That little bit of difference in language, shall versus will, leaves you a revenue bond or it pushes you to a general obligation. And so if you read that OS, you will see in there that bond counsel was very sure in bold black letters to make sure that the potential buyers for this understood the will versus the shall.
Okay.
And Mayor, I was saying to Mark earlier today, I've never spent more time in 41 years talking to prospective buyers of any issue I've done than on this issue, which was fine. That's what I do. I should be doing it. It's a story bond. It's a good story to tell. And quite frankly, we got a lot of people who are interested in buying your debt today, this debt. So I think this will be a launching pad for other Wisconsin municipalities to go this route when they have a TID increment that's producing sufficient revenues, and we're going to see more of this. You're just basically the first one in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it seems to me the people at risk are the people who actually bought the bonds. And if they're comfortable and secure, I mean, we have our money, or we will have it, so.
Good point. I just want to make sure.
That is 100% accurate, Kathy. That's exactly
I'm sure somebody doesn't come from DOR or something in 6 months and say, "Oh, you can't do this."
Oh no! I wouldn't put you, Mayor. I wouldn't put you in that situation. We're going to have a bona fide legal opinion from Quarles and Brady. It is not a problem. Everything has been done above board and legally. Everything has been disclosed as it should be with regards to the Securities Exchange Commission. No, the only thing here is, even though we finally got the precedent set, nobody issued after that, because until we get the language of will and shall, there was nobody that was going to issue debt because it was GO anyway. These are revenue bonds because we put in will as opposed to shall on an annual. So one of the buyers said, hey, Jeff, so if I read this, the city could next year decide that they're not going to take the TID revenues from 9 and pay their debt. I said, well, the city could, but it's not likely anybody else is going to lend money to the city of Monona if they did that. So it's one of those practical things. The TID exists to pay those improvements and to pay for them. That's why the revenues are there. And you and future councils are certainly going to pay your debt.
Sure. That is true.
I suspect the outcome of this will be that when Mark goes to a conference of finance directors, he's going to have to do a workshop on how you did this.
Yeah.
They may in fact ask him. You're absolutely right, Kathy. They may in fact do that.
The risk, the only thing would happen with our developers agreements, in our developers agreements, the contractor, the hotel and the current, they have in their developer agreements, they have to have their assessments at a certain amount, and they have to pay so much per year. So when they did all the work, the S&Ps, and they did the analysis, they're able to look at those agreements and see that.
Good point.
So everything's kind of set based on those numbers. So there's really, everything's kind of matched up based on those things. So you're really not at risk. One big difference is TIP 9 is, you can see is actually paying for it. Like right now, you look at our GO debt, people think it's all just general stuff, but it's not. This way you can see it's separated better. So that way it helps that way too.
Okay.
That's an excellent point, Mark. It allows rating agencies now and in the future, whether they look at our debt issues, to make a clearer analysis. There's nothing muddying the waters in terms of revenues being poured in from someplace else to offset a general obligation levy. These, particularly in 9, go directly to paying that debt. And the other nice thing is the timing's pretty good, that we in fact have the real development in place. And it was easy for me to show the potential buyers the revenues that we have, and I said, hey, look, we've got a coverage here of about, other than the first year, which was the 133, we've got revenues being generated at a 150 times coverage, which means the revenues coming in annually from that TIF district are 50% greater than what we need to pay the debt. So, we're in good shape, which will mean that you're probably going to end up calling a lot of these longer bonds in the future as we start to build up that TID increment fund. Mark's going to be able to say to me, like we have with other geo debt, hey, Jeff, I got $1 million here for TID 9. Can we call $1 million worth of that debt? And we'll start calling it from year 41 and back, which is going to save us the most money. So that's what I see practically happening on this issue.
Okay, well, that sounds good, and that makes sense. Anything else, Kathy?
Oh.
No? Then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Let's see, next, and thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Mayor, is this the same number for our council meeting, or do I need a new dial-in?
There will be a new dial-in number, so
Okay.
I'll resend it to you.
All right, thanks. I just want to make sure. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next item 6E, discussion and consideration of revised COVID-19 policy for city employees. I guess we do need a motion for this, Brian?
Yep,
Right?
that'd be nice.
Is there a motion? I'll second. Leah, were you going to talk about this?
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. We currently have a COVID leave policy, which we have been following and updating as necessary since it was originally passed in July of 2020. We've been updating and revising based on current CDC guidance and current health department guidance. But the one part of this policy that was definitively set to expire was in Section 8 under paid leave. Last year we had offered employees who were either sick with COVID or were quarantined or in isolation or had to take care of someone who had COVID 10 work days of paid leave because of that COVID, and that paid leave expired at the end of 2021. So we currently have had more COVID cases among city employees than we have ever throughout the pandemic. I think we've had more than 12 cases since the holidays. So what we are asking tonight is for your permission to extend the paid leave again through 2022. We originally gave employees 10 days of paid leave. That was before vaccinations were available and before CDC guidance changed. CDC guidance now says that employees can come back to work after 5 days if they were asymptomatic, or even if they had symptoms, if those symptoms have resolved after 5 days. So we'd like to amend the policy to give employees 5 days of paid leave if they're sick with COVID, have to quarantine, or take care of someone who's sick with COVID.
Yeah, I was concerned about this just in terms of if someone was sick and didn't have any leave time, just coming to work sick. I mean, and a lot of people don't, it looks like they may just have a slight cold and nobody would know the difference, and given how this spreads, that could be a real disaster. So I think this is important to make this change. Kathy, did you have any?
Nope.
I did wonder about on the Section 8, Part B, when you change the carryover vacation thing, you think that'll be okay for this year? Or I guess we could always come back if it did get to be a problem.
Yeah, well, we had a short discussion about that this morning at the staff meeting. We'll have to take a look at the numbers of where people are at, and if our goal is to get to the point where we don't have to keep extending that. If we find some outliers, perhaps on a case-by-case basis, we'll analyze it, but our goal would be to move away from that extension long-term.
Okay. Kathy?
Back up, I do have a question. While we know that 5 days meets most people's needs, there are some people who are still getting sick with COVID, some even hospitalized. So what happens if they are sick and they are not able to come back to work after 5 days?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good question, Kathy. I think the vast majority of our employees have been vaccinated. So the cases that we are seeing of employees getting sick right now, they're not getting really sick. And they have all, I think without exception, been able to return after 5 days. So if we did have that person who, got really sick, needed to be hospitalized, they would have to supplement, I guess, their leave with their own paid leave time.
Okay,
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Leah and Brian.
Thank you.
Now we will move on to item 6F, acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated December 3rd through January 13th, 2022. Documentation of invoices paid is available in the city clerk's office. Mark.
All right. So there's a lot of stuff in here. A lot of it's overpayments, just regular everyday stuff. I'll just kind of hit on some of the bigger stuff. Page 39, Airline equipment, scuba system. That's the grant money we received from the feds for the fire department.
Is that page 39 of the bills?
Yes, 39 of the my page 39 of. Let's go with the bill page number. Because I don't know what you guys have in front of you. Go page 2 of the bills.
Okay. Go back.
Are you able to get to that page?
Yeah, okay.
Let's start from there. So that's the first one here. One is the grant money we received for the purchase.
Okay.
Page 3, full compass systems. Towards the bottom, there's a lot of cable, part of their equipment purchases. Page 5, Monona Bank, that is our credit card system. It's on both pages. Page 7, Robin Nichols, pole installed for the water meter. So this is we set up poles for the iron water to make sure we can capture everybody's new meter. So that's part of that. Page
Is the
9,
new water metering system working okay?
it is. We just had some issues with coverage, so that's what some of these poles are setting up. So we should be close to 100% within a month or so. We're not 100% yet, but we're close to it.
Okay.
A lot of people do use it, so a lot of people are signed up and using it, checking their water usage.
Good.
Page 48, Exley Burleson. Just kind of want to hit on this. The first line is for general. This one matters. 3,600. That's for the last 10 years. That's a lower number. So you're doing really good with not using the attorneys. So that's very, very positive. Page 13. Family Service Madison, that's our EAP system, or EAP services, so anybody can use it. Family members, even alders if needed. Page 15, Johnson Tree Care. Fourth line down there is the forestry service. He is our forestry, so just in case people are wondering. Page 26. Boonta Law Office, the Birch claim, the Walker claim. We're basically at our max for both of those. So this is, I think, one of the last bills that we received. Up underneath that, Humbert for Gateway Green retainage, so that's project is paid in full and done. Page 27, Kilgus, we had a fire department had a furnace that had to be replaced. And page 29, Liftoff LLC, just the cost to renew our email licenses. This is an annual thing, so it does add up. And a couple underneath that is Madison Metro Sewage District, the Harder Watershed fee, and that's a one-time fee. We haven't really much else that stood out. No library books being purchased. That's all I have. Anybody has questions?
I think I had one. Kathy, did you have any?
Nope, I'm fine.
Let me just see, go to the page it's on page 56.
Okay.
Is that right in here? Oh, I'm just curious what the civic systems support. What is that
Let's see.
on the very top?
Support for software.
For which software?
It's their accounting software,
Oh, okay, all right.
and then water utilities software, and so it's support for that.
Okay. I didn't have anything else, and Kathy, you didn't either?
Nope.
Okay, is there a motion to accept
So
the bill?
moved.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I will second. All in favor, say aye.
See you all on the other side.
All right, motion passes.